Hi, my name's Omid Daryani. I'm the Senior Brand Manager for the EverQuest franchise. Welcome to the Roundtable. With me today is Senior Producer Terry Michaels.
Hello, everybody.
And we're talking about specialty servers. We asked the question, what type of specialty servers would you like to see in our game?
Yeah, this is always one of those interesting parts about games where for people who don't maybe know what we're talking about, it's a rule set. It changes the way the game is played. So for instance, EQ had one that was the role-playing server, the Furiona V, where it was expected that everybody was talking in character, and there was special rule sets on what could be traded and the way loot worked and all those sorts of things, and it drastically changed the way people played the game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what specialty rule sets pretty much mean.
Yeah, and so what kind of people are drawn to these? Because I have to admit, the only time I've played on a specialty server, I clicked on the one with the red PvP accidentally, and then I immediately was murdered, and then I never went back there.
Well, yeah, across the games that we've all played, the most common ones are either role-playing or PvP servers. Those are the ones that most people know about or have experienced in one game or another. There are all kinds of different ones that appeal to different people. I know a lot of people who won't play a game that's not on a role-playing server because, they want to play with people who are going to be in character, like I mentioned, talking in a particular way, or trying to create a community in a different way than you'd see on a normal server in a game.
And we should have the best RP servers possible for this game, right? Because of SOE mode.
Well, that's one of the things. Not just that, but we've talked about having the ability to create different kinds of things, especially in Landmark. We could have a role-playing server where you can only build fantasy, or you can only build sci-fi, or maybe on a given continent or something like that. So we can do things that a lot of other games haven't had the opportunity to do to sort of extend that experience. Mm-hmm. But you were talking about the different people. It's one of those things that it's another nice part about it is that it opens up opportunities for variety in the game. So I can play on a normal server, for a couple of years or a couple of months, whatever it is that I want to do. And then if I want to play it just a different way, I can try a different server, and it will feel very different to me, almost like a different kind of game.
So in the forums we had, first there was just a tremendous amount of back and forth about PvP. Some folks are very passionate about that, obviously.
I think most PvPers are very passionate about it.
It's tough, so you got to be, right?
Right.
But so PvP, RP, and then the combination of the two dominated the discussion.
Right.
But we also, I think, were looking for sort of outside the box ideas. We got a few of them.
Right.
But I think, can you talk a little bit about what we're looking for in this realm?
Yeah, so one of the things is, the reason we ask this question now is that building for these things as we're creating the game is way easier than doing it after the game has been created. Creating a role-playing rule set, something along the lines of maybe the Furiona V rule set that I mentioned before, that requires work up front so that you know how it's going to interact with the rest of the game. It's a lot harder to come in at the end and then kind of shoehorn that in. So we really wanted to make sure that we were thinking about things ahead of time so that we could encompass as many of these different ideas as we could. So that's why we asked this.
Yeah, I would love to see crazy ideas for servers, like for example, an all Ixar server. That's the only idea I have. But
I can't imagine why.
But why, we have a different kind of game here.
Right.
And as we're designing it, we want to look and see if we can now create different kinds of specialty servers as well.
Exactly, with the different systems that everybody already knows about and the things we'll be talking about as we continue moving forward with the designing and the creation of the game. It's going to open up opportunities to do things that we've just never thought of before in another game because they weren't possible. Mm-hmm. With the destructible environment, the ability to create anything you can imagine. This opens up, in PvP realms or whatever, it opens up the idea of what about a server where all of the PvP is only done on player-owned stuff. Mm-hmm. Where everybody has to create their own battlegrounds. Mm-hmm. That's an opportunity that other games just don't have to create some sort of specialty rule set.
Yeah, I always think, or I have been thinking about how progression in EverQuest Next and in Landmark are much different than in most games.
Right.
And maybe that affects, a specialty server. Maybe we want to mess around with how progression works or use that to create alternate rules.
Right. A great example of that, we've talked about our class system in what it's going to be like in EverQuest Next. What would it be like if you could only have a limited number of classes? Mm-hmm. How would that change the game? That's not something another game has ever done because they haven't had the same sort of class system that we're talking about. Yeah. So that's an example of an idea that could have a drastic impact on the game, and it's something that we could do that would be different.
Yeah, and so, like Terry said, this question was primarily for us figuring out where to put our resources, what we want to focus on. it would be great to hear from you guys, and we've seen some like great pitches for these ideas, but let's push it a little further. Let's think about other ways that, especially as you're playing in Landmark now, and seeing what we're doing there, other ways we can use the engines and the design rules that we're coming up with to build a completely new kind of specialty server.
Yeah.
So that's our challenge to you. Thank you guys so much for participating in this, and thank you, Terry, for being here.
Absolutely.
And
Thanks,
we'll
guys.
see you next time on the Roundtable.